The Wicked Wig of the Woke is back with a vengeance. I know it's been quite a while since I've given you guys an update on the beauty queen known as Joy Reid. My boo thing, Joy Reid. But don't worry, Jameli. Casey still got love for you too. I mean, seriously. Who can resist this O-face? This is the same face that Natasha Cloud made earlier this week when she found out that Americans, we no longer want her here in America. But there is a reason that we haven't talked about Joy Reid lately. For the last 6 to 8 months, the business of mythical racism, it's been struggling. Matter of fact, it is nearing the point of bankruptcy. Last October, Smelly Jameli, she released her memoir. Over 200 pages of fabricated stories created in the mind of Jemele Hill. Give me $20 and I'll share with you my experience as a woman who was given opportunities in the media that she was not qualified for. Yeah, I'm sure that experience was so traumatic. Having woke corporations donate millions of dollars in reparations for you not to draw an audience. Jemele Hill's memoir, Failure. Her podcast, which I believe was titled Jemele Hill is Unbothered When Her Mother Wants Her to Become a Father. Failure. The same can be said for Joy Reid. This time last year, Joy Reid recorded her lowest ratings in prime time on MSNBC since the time slot was donated to her in the summer of 2020. She was averaging around 1.1 million viewers. Fast forward 12 months later, her ratings have not changed. Matter of fact, the last 6 months of 2022, Boy Joy actually managed to lose another 100,000 viewers. But over the last couple of weeks, Joy Reid has seen a temporary spike in ratings. Why? Because she is trying so hard to revive the business of mythical racism. With the Supreme Court overturning affirmative action, Joy Reid has become the go-to source in the mainstream media for overreaction and fake outrage. Last week, our beauty queen was the featured guest with Chris Hayes. Well, Casey, who in the hell is Chris Hayes? Chris, he represents the super nerd demographic for MSNBC. He hosts a show in prime time called All in the Pound My Brown Cake. You see, MSNBC is all about the diversity. They have the L's covered with Rachel Maddow. They have the gender neutral covered with Alex Wagner. Victims of mythical racism are represented by Joy Reid. And super nerds like Mike Freeman, they can rely on Chris Hayes for masculine comfort. Last week, the man who hasn't seen an uncovered woman since birth, he invited Joy Reid on his show to discuss affirmative action. Joy Reid made sure to appeal to Christopher's audience by admitting that she too is a nerd. While trying to explain why affirmative action is necessary, Joy Reid ended up providing the reason that affirmative action is bullshit. Watch for yourself.
I got into Harvard only because of affirmative action. I went to a school no one had ever heard of in Denver, Colorado, in a small suburb. I didn't go to Exeter or Andover. I didn't have college test prep. I just happened to be really nerdy and smart and have really good grades and good SAT scores. But the minute I arrived from my majority black little town, Montbello in Denver, to Harvard, the first week or two that I was in class, my presence was questioned by white people. I was in this big conference class where some white students stood up and said, those students, the black students, they're only here because of affirmative action. It became a huge argument that we all ended up having. This was freshman year. I had never had my academic credentials questioned. I had never had anyone question whether I was intelligent until I got to Harvard. And it was a defining point of my experience there. It's why I really was one of the many reasons I was miserable there my freshman year. Yeah. You felt completely out of place.
Now, if you were a believer in affirmative action, Joy Reid just explained to you why it should not be legal. She just told you affirmative action got her into Harvard when she wasn't qualified. Now, of course, Joy Reid wants to pretend she was qualified, but I have my doubts. I would imagine other students were suspicious of Joy Reid when she arrived at Harvard. This is all the more reason that affirmative action does not work. It automatically disregards students that are qualified to be there but didn't meet a racial quota. It also puts minority students that were granted access to a school that's damn near impossible to get into, it puts them at a disadvantage because even if they're qualified to be there, no one believes them. People believe that the only reason they're in class is because they meet a racial quota. Why would anyone want to put themselves in that predicament? Even the black students that are qualified, even the ones that didn't need affirmative action, they get lumped in with the students that took advantage of affirmative action. It creates this this weird dynamic. It puts all minority students almost into a category of charity. You heard Joy Reid say it herself. You feel out of place immediately. Well, no shit. Affirmative action. It creates this scenario where people believe you're out of place. They don't think you really belong there. And look, I am not taking anything away from Joy Reid. She is a smart woman. I don't ever agree with her, but I'll never take away her intelligence, no matter how misplaced it may be. But people do not respect handouts. And Joy Reid, she was given a handout. At the end of the day, affirmative action, it works for no one. But this week, Joy Reid took a break from expressing her fake outrage over affirmative action and turned her bitterness towards the 4th of July. As longtime subscribers of this channel already know, our beauty queen, she has a very strong hatred for any holiday celebrated by normal people. Every Thanksgiving, Joy Reid is bitter because the Pilgrims ended up overtaking the Guardians. She also gets very emotional thinking about all the turkeys that are being consumed. Why must they eat that evil white meat? Obviously, Joy Reid is no fan of Christmas. That should go without saying. When you have dreams of being married to Lucifer, you're not going to celebrate the birth of his enemy. Holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas, they bring the bitterness out of Joy, but her feelings are completely different when it comes to the 4th of July. The feelings of bitterness, they are clouded by her overwhelming fear. Her PTSD is triggered when she sees happy families shooting fireworks on social media. Outside of the month of woke Christmas, which just ended, last week, Joy Reid does not feel safe leaving her overpriced dump. On the 4th of July, she lives in fear. She's afraid that the evil white man may use her wig for target practice with the Roman candle. But it's not enough for Joy Reid to deal with this fear all by herself. She feels the overwhelming need to share this fear with her audience of victims. Last night, she opened her show with a painfully boring monologue, which was immediately followed by her special guest, Bald Bull. You guys remember that Nintendo game, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out? Remember Bald Bull? 30 years later, he finally awakened from Tyson's knockout punch and made a special appearance last night with Boy Joy. Now, of course, Bald Bull, he was barely able to get a word in because Joy Reid was expressing her fake outrage. Watch for yourself.
I have to say, I did not go out on July 4th and would not. The idea of going to a mass gathering, a parade, or a big fireworks thing outside seems insane to me, to be blunt, in America, because America is awash with guns, and now people don't just have them. They seem to want to shoot people with them and use them for whatever, you know?
Wait a minute. Did I just hear Joy Reid claim that going outside to a mass gathering or a parade in America seems to be dangerous and insane? Isn't this the same Joy Reid who celebrates pride parades? Where was this same energy last month? Where was this same energy when identifiers were parading through the streets of New York City, chanting that they were coming for the minds of your children? You tell me, which is more dangerous? Families shooting fireworks on July 4th, Father Frank showing Tiny Timmy how to properly light the Roman candle, or a bunch of dudes dressed like women and stormtroopers publicly displaying unique ways to use the lightsaber and threatening to come for the minds of your children. Which one is more dangerous? I seriously doubt that Joy Reid believes her own propaganda. MSNBC is nothing but state-run media. You notice that Joy Reid says America is awash with guns and people seem to want to shoot people with them? This is another example of a paid media propagandist giving you part of the truth, but leaving out the details that give you the full story. Yes, America is awash with guns. If I remember correctly, there are more guns in America than there are people in America. MSNBC pays Joy Reid to make you believe that there is a gun epidemic in America. This is more dangerous than the COVID. Joy Reid wants you to believe that going to 4th of July parades, that shooting fireworks with your family is putting yourself in danger. Your child could be permanently blinded if he gets hit in the eye with a bottle rocket. Since Joy Reid doesn't want her to do her job properly, let's go ahead and do her job for her. As of 2021, there are 332 million people living in America. According to the most recent FBI data, there were just over 10,000 people who lost their lives because of a gun. Now, a sizable portion of that number, they are responsible for taking their own lives, but just for argument's sake, let's give Joy Reid the advantage here and pretend that all 10,258 were victims of gun violence. That means you have a 0.003 chance of losing your life due to gun violence. Let me put that into perspective for you. You've got a better chance of making the NBA than being the victim of gun violence. You're almost 5 times more likely to lose your life in a car crash than you are to be the victim of gun violence. But let me ask you something. How do you think Joy Reid gets to work every day? You got to remember, Joy Reid, also a big believer in climate change. We finally have something in common. I believe in climate change too. I believe that climate changes every 3 months, but Joy Reid believes we are responsible for climate change. How do you think she gets to work every day? If she's afraid of gun violence, she's got to be afraid of cars, right? If she's worried about the environment, there's no way she uses a motorized vehicle to get to work, right? I would imagine Joy Reid is really afraid of neither. She just wants you to be afraid. There is not a doubt in my mind that Joy Reid rarely leaves her apartment, but it's not because of fear. It's because she has nowhere to be. Who would be willing to meet Joy Reid for dinner or meet her for happy hour? This woman is walking misery. She is the definition of depressing. Don't be surprised if Joy Reid increases the mythical racism over the next few weeks, especially with the Republican debates starting next month. It's her only play here. It's her only card. She is the least watched primetime show on MSNBC. Over the last 12 months, her ratings have been flat. She set record lows this time last year, and up until last week, those record lows remain consistent. The only way Joy Reid can make headlines, the only way she can draw an audience is to create myths and fairy tales. Like I said, it's her only play. She has got to be outlandish to get noticed. When you think about it, Joy Reid is really no different than Dylan Mulvaney. They're both a gimmick. And when you base your foundation on a gimmick instead of talent, the foundation eventually crumbles. But give me your thoughts. Joy Reid completely humiliates herself on MSNBC, pretending that she is afraid to leave her house on the 4th of July. Do you believe any of this bullshit? With her ratings being stagnant, do you think MSNBC could be considering parting ways with Joy Reid? You let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, kc_btl84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.